Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Purposeful Mindset podcast. I'm honestly so grateful that you're subscribed to my podcast, and I'm excited to share yet another episode with you. As you know, this podcast is all about bringing servant leaders to share their stories and life experiences with you all in the hopes to help more people to find their true purpose and meaning to life. Today, I have an amazing guest. I'm so excited to share his wisdom with you all. His name is Lucas Foster, and he's aged 21 and is a snowboarder who competes internationally for the United States. His last result is the 8th place for the men's halfpipe in Calgary during the season 2019 to 2020. He's best known to compete in halfpipe, and ever since he was a young child, his father inspired and mentored him to become the amazing, talented athlete he is today, with an incredible positive attitude to life and truly humble heart. He has many coaches and mentors around him, including his father, who support and encourage him to be the best he can be daily. In this episode, Lucas shares his story of how many of his childhood friends disliked him because he left school at an early age to go after his dream of today becoming a talented professional US snowboard athlete. He also shares how having a strong mindset is key if you want to live a grateful and fulfilled life. So without further ado, let's get straight into this episode. Lucas, I am super grateful to have you on the Purposeful Mindset podcast. I'm so grateful for Jesse for introducing us together, because that dude, as we both know, is super inspiring. Some of the stuff that he's been through and he's doing right now is just crazy. And I'm so humbled and honored to have been connected with him through Instagram out of all the platforms. And I'm just so grateful to have you on, man. Like, he was speaking so highly of you, and he's like, you need to go and get, you need to get Lucas on your podcast, or just, you need to just have a chat with him. Like, your mindset is amazing, and he's speaking really highly of you. And I was like, let's do it, man. Like, I want to have a chat with him. So I'm super grateful to have you on the show, man. And I genuinely want you to just basically go straight into it and introduce yourself to everyone. And I want you to share your story with everyone. Like, from where did this all start from, this snowboarding and everything you're doing right now? By the way, is super cool. I was watching your videos and I was like, damn, like, how the hell does he flip like twice in the air and know he's going to land on his feet? Because I probably will.
Yeah,
so
man.
I'm super grateful, man.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. I'm super happy to be here. I'm glad Jesse connected us, and super stoked on what you're doing with the podcast. It's a great thing. And so my name is Lucas Foster. I'm 20 years old, and I'm from Telluride, Colorado. And I snowboard. I'm on the US Snowboard team for halfpipe, and pretty much just travel the world and snowboard. And we do a lot of contests, and it's a pretty special life. So super grateful to, go through the experiences that I've been through. And, I've learned a lot through seeing the world and meeting other people. And it's a good life for sure.
Yeah, it must be like really, especially at your age, at 20, right? Like, you must be really eye-opening for you to, like, the amount of people that you get to meet, traveling different countries, traveling to, just around the world, and just seeing nature, seeing the people being part of the community and how people are thinking. Like, you must meet a lot of different types of people, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, you meet a lot of people, you really get a feel for how people communicate. And like, I'm 20, most of my friends are in college right now. And that personally just wasn't my path. That wasn't my calling. And I don't know, I feel like the life I'm living right now has really forced me to mature kind of quick. And, you definitely have to kind of be really self-aware if you're going to be traveling the world and doing all this stuff. And for me, I really think that what I've gotten the most out of snowboarding and living this life is it really just builds character, and it really kind of, you get to have fun snowboarding every single day, but you also get to really find yourself and create yourself. I don't want to say find yourself, because life is all about creating who you are. And that's kind of what I feel I've gotten out of snowboarding the most.
So what got you into snowboarding in the first place? Like, how did you start?
I started snowboarding because of my parents. So Telluride is this super small town in Colorado, and it's a ski town. And pretty much my dad moved there in 1995 and my mom moved there, I think in 98. I could be hit or miss a year. But pretty much they had me in 1999. And then my dad was, he loved snowboarding to death. Like that's his thing. That's his passion too. And growing up as a toddler, I started skiing. And my mom and dad were both snowboarding, and I was that kid that pretty much just wanted to do whatever my dad was doing. So he was a snowboarder, he was a dirt biker, so I was dirt biking. And then I was like, all right, I want to start snowboarding when I was like maybe 6 or 7. And I like tried it once when I was pretty young, was terrible at it. Didn't try it again until I was like 8. And then it got a little easier when I was 8. So I pretty much just got inspired from my dad. They didn't like pressure me into it at all. They actually wanted me to keep skiing because I was pretty good at skiing, and they didn't think that I'd be able to catch up with them on a snowboard. So yeah, pretty much just, my dad was and still is, he's like a hero to me. So I just pretty much wanted to do what he was doing.
I guess that really, really helps a lot, right? Like when your own father is like doing something that you're doing that's part of both of your passions, it really helps, right? Because imagine your dad was like one of those fathers that was just telling you, go study hard and get good grades and get a good job. And imagine he was telling you that, and he was like, just do this snowboarding stuff as like a hobby.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely wanted me to make sure I'm like giving my attention to other areas of life for sure. But he really just wanted me to enjoy myself as a kid. And if you don't ski or snowboard in Telluride, it's a really boring town.
Yeah.
So, it was really cool when I did start snowboarding, just because my dad is really who taught me how to snowboard growing up. I didn't like get into it and then get thrown into like a snowboard team or a snowboard program immediately. It was like, I pretty much just learned how to snowboard by following my dad and my mom around the mountain. They're by no means are they like pro snowboarders or anything, but they know how to snowboard. They know how to get down the mountain and do it well. And my dad, he knows how to go fast and stuff. But and I pretty much just learned from following him around. And I think it was really cool for him and I, just for bonding with each other, because we shared a passion, and it was a way for us to go spend time together. And I think I know he loved that, and I loved it too. It was great for me when I was age 8 through 11. That was our thing.
That's awesome. So what age was it that you or him like made you get like really serious about it?
It was mainly me when I was like, I've always been very obsessive over anything I love. But pretty much like ever since I started snowboarding, I always wanted to be really good at it. And I think that wasn't necessarily what made me keep snowboarding. What made me keep snowboarding was just the fact that there were really no rules to it. And I was terrible at following rules growing up. Like I would play soccer and hockey, and I would always try doing it in different ways, and never worked out well. But I'd say like I always wanted to be good. I always wanted to like go fast and try to like improve every day. And but I wouldn't say I got serious with competing until I was like 14 or 15. Just for a quick answer. Pretty much I watched Gus Kenworthy, who is a pro skier from Telluride. He actually competes for Great Britain now. But he got a silver medal at the Sochi Olympics in Russia, 2014. And I watched that happen. And I remember watching him get silver. I was sitting in this restaurant with like the whole town of Telluride all crowded in there. It's 3 a.m. because we're in America. We're watching a contest in Russia.
Yeah.
And I remember just the town like going crazy for him. And that fueled me up so much. I was like, oh my God, like
I want to be there one day.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of the kid I was growing up. Like anytime I saw someone do something amazing, I was always happy for them. I was never mad or like, trying to say that they didn't deserve it or anything. But anytime I saw someone do something that was better than what I was doing, I was like, oh, I got to go get out there. So then after I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm going to really try to go for it because, I love snowboarding. doing it for a living was always something that I wanted to do anyway, but I was like, I want to have that type of support.
Hmm.
And that was more like that's an immature behavior, I think.
Yeah.
Whenever you like want attention from your
Mm-hmm.
peers in your town, and it's not my motivation anymore, but that's what got me like sparked. And then when I, really started taking competing seriously, other things were motivating me to continue with it and stuff. But I've always been serious about being the best, even though it's super hard to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to one up myself. I always wanted to become better at anything I was doing.
Was that just like a natural mindset that you had, or was that something that somehow maybe your dad probably instilled in you when you were younger?
It was kind of what kind of sparked that. My competitive nature was growing up in like preschool and kindergarten, especially. I was always the shortest kid in my class. And that kind of got in my head a little bit, even though that's something that does not matter. Like I'm still probably the shortest kid in my, or one of the shortest in my like friend group. And just in my, I'm only like 5'5" and I'm 20 years old. I'm totally fine with it now. But at the time that played into my head a little bit. And I was never good at team sports. I played soccer and hockey, like I said. Totally terrible at it. And, in school, I was never like the popular kid that people wanted to hang out with. I wasn't like a kid people hated, but I just was kind of quiet, kept to myself, didn't really know what I liked or wanted to do. It was just kind of like going with the flow and just doing whatever. And I never liked that. I always kind of felt weird. I always kind of felt like an outcast kid. And then I think when I found skating and snowboarding, I was like, okay, this is something that not all my friends are doing. There's no rules to it. It's something that I can, kind of do my thing with and not have to worry about people watching. And then I started getting kind of good at it. And I think I just always hated feeling like an outcast. So I always felt like I needed to like do something to like prove to people that I'm not just some weirdo kid.
Yeah.
Know? But it's
so amazing for you at that age, even now at your age, like to have that mindset. So let's say someone's listening right now and they are whatever age, let's say they're in their early 20s or something, and they feel like maybe they feel like they haven't found their passion, or they can't find something that they really enjoy, that they love, or they don't feel like they can probably pursue that as a career, maybe because their friends or family are holding them back. What advice would you give those people that are kind of stuck in the mind where they don't know what it is that their passion is or their passions?
I'd say when you're picking your passion, luckily I found my passions at a really young age, and most people don't find something that they love as much as I did when they were 8, 9 years old. But I grew up listening to Gary Vee, and he always talks about, like if you don't know what you like to do, you need to go taste stuff. Just like if you don't know what kind of food you like, you need to go try some food. Yep. So then if you like Chinese or Mexican or pizza. You're never going to know exactly what feels right to you or, your body or your mind until you actually try something. Mm-hmm. And people there's kids that ask me that a lot. They ask questions like, oh, should I do this? Whether they're skiers, like, oh, should I ski this terrain or should I do this contest or there's this one kid that I've known for years back at home in Telluride, and he has a very entrepreneur driven mindset, and he's a great kid. I love him. And he's really trying to figure out like a good business idea, a good thing that he can kind of sell and stuff. And he's like, what should I do for a business? And I'm like, you need to try a bunch of stuff. And it's totally okay if you don't find that for another 10 years. You're a teenager. You're not supposed to just the fact that, if you're a kid that's at a young age, and if you're even just thinking about what you like, you have a huge advantage on most kids out there, because most kids aren't thinking like, oh, what should I do when I grow up? Of course, kids do think about that, and they think like fireman or policeman, but
exactly.
no one actually thinks like, oh, where's my path? Where's my calling? So yeah, I'd say just, you got to taste stuff, and you really got to just pretty much understand that you're going to be a student for the rest of your life. And it's totally okay to go try new things, even if you're totally just terrible at whatever you're trying.
Yeah.
You got to start a student, and you got to be a student for the rest of your life if you ever want to keep growing as a human or as a in your career, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I can tell Gary Vee definitely has infected you the way he has me and everyone else that consumes his content. Because it's pretty much all
Yeah,
about literally try things out, be patient. You've got time. That's the only way you're going to find your path is by
exactly.
trying new things. Like I would never have imagined, and I always tell people this now, never in a million years I would have imagined me being a speaker, because over 6 years ago, I was this super shy kid. I had 8 friends, went home, I played Call of Duty, literally Call of Duty, work, eat, sleep, repeat. That was my life.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Same here. You know, like I hate to make it sound like I was like, because I really wasn't like a huge outcast. You know, I did have a couple friends, but I really looked around a lot and like saw kids being good at sports or saw kids getting tons of attention from other people. And like that always fueled me and stuff. And I always saw myself getting to the point where I'm at now, but it was always a fantasy. It was always a dream.
Mm.
I had no clear path. There was no, you know, exactly. There's no clear path really set for me. So, you know, just like you said,
It kind of just happened, right? Because you were just kind of going with the flow, trying these things out, as you said,
yeah,
and then you
exactly.
kind of fell into like I guess you kind of just fall in love with doing something, like this one thing you loved doing was snowboarding. For me, when I started personal growth, I was like, man, I love learning now. Like I not just
Yeah,
about education and what happened in the past in history, but what's actually happening right now, currently,
yeah,
and how are these successful people in the world influencing. There's only a few handful of successful people in the world who are basically in power and are influencing the rest of the world with their mindset
exactly.
and their efforts and their experience. So for me, it was
And
so
yeah,
interesting.
that's another thing too, is you got to really trust your path too. And that's kind of where Gary Vee talks about the patience piece is
Mm.
like, for me, I always had a dream of like snowboarding and skateboarding, you know, all the time, traveling the world, doing big tricks and stuff. And it took me years to get to that point where I was able to do these things that I always wanted to do. And there were so many times, and you know, there's more times where you want to give up because of failures or because of setbacks or obstacles in the way. And you really got to trust your passion and really trust your love for it, rather than, you know, there's a lot of people out there that will only keep going on something because it's like, you know, rewarding them financially or
Yeah.
rewarding egos rather than rewarding their, you know, their true, you know, their soul. And that's another thing that I really try to tell people if they ever ask is you got to try stuff and then you got to trust the process, because it's never going to happen just like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there have been so many times, and there's still a lot of times where I have setbacks or I have obstacles in my way, or I'm lacking a certain, you know, certain resources that I need to do something that I want to do in my life. And, you know, the moment you really let those obstacles get in your way, it sounds cliche, but that kind of just puts you back to square one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all about just trusting your path. You know, you can't question reality.
No, for sure. Like I always tell people the same. I'm like, you know what? You have to trust your intuition, trust your gut feeling, and just
Yeah.
go do what you feel. Don't do what other people are telling you what to do. Do what you feel
Yeah.
like doing. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing, because our emotions are really powerful when you really tap deep down in within ourselves. That's when we realize like this is actually what I love. And I always also tell people to not worry about the judgment and the opinions of others. When you were doing snowboarding and your closest friends were going to college or school, high school, were they like, did you have any like comparison? Did they used to like look at you in a different way because you went for a different path, kind of like on your own journey?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, yes and no. There are a lot of people that thought it was awesome. And then there was definitely some people that thought it was really weird, because Telluride, it is a ski town, but there were very few athletes that actually try to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, there's been like, I think 4 Olympians from Telluride. No, 3, sorry. Which is kind of a small amount for a ski town as like top notch as Telluride, to be honest. So like there were not a lot of people there was really no one my age that was doing the same thing that I was doing. I remember when I started doing online school in 11th grade, there were some people that were like, "Oh, you dropped out of school?" Like, and like had no, they thought it was just like really odd that I was like choosing to snowboard and not go to parties and not go to regular high school, because I did go to regular high school. I just did it all online and got a real diploma. A lot of people these days still think that I either dropped out or got a GED, which is pretty funny. But
yeah.
yeah, like I remember like there were parents that kind of like would give, make weird comments to me or to my parents for making that, for like supporting this path, because before me, there really wasn't like a snowboarder doing the halfpipe stuff from Telluride that came before me. I'm kind of like, there were people that did kind of take it to a higher level, but there's a border cross racer, like a racer that went to the Olympics named Hagen Carney. So like there's one snowboarder, but there really were barely any people that did it. So
yeah,
people were like, just kind of, they weren't familiar with the path, even though there were tons of kids all over the country that were doing the same thing I was doing. In Telluride, it just didn't seem like to some people. But then there were some people that totally were like extremely supportive of it and totally understood and were like, yeah, that's exactly what you should be doing. Like if you love snowboarding, if it's something that you want to take to, the next level, you really do gotta, you can wait to go to college till you're 40 years old if you want to. You don't need to do it now. But yeah, there'd be people that just didn't get it, and I don't hold it against them either. If if you're a parent and you see a kid doing what I was doing and you've never seen what goes into becoming a pro athlete, then of course you're going to be like raising an eyebrow. You can't blame them for not understanding.
Of course, yeah.
All you can really.
How did you used to deal with like any kind of negativity then that used to kind of come towards you or your family?
When I was younger, I was super sensitive.
Yeah.
That's when I was like 8 years old through like 13, 14. Like it was really hard when I was younger, but it wasn't like a thing that happened often. It never has been a thing that was like super frequent, but whenever that would happen, that was another thing that added fuel to my fire and made me more competitive. Is like, if someone was trying to put me down or trying to tell me that what I was doing wasn't good enough or not legit or something, I would work my butt off 10 times harder. It would just fuel me up even more. Like all I wanted to do after someone would make fun of me for not going to high school or make fun of me for choosing not to go to college or whatever, I would just go to the skate park or go snowboard and just really kind of let my anger just totally fire me up. And I was good at channeling that, which I'm really thankful for, because a lot of people, I know tons of people that wouldn't be able to really deal with it, because it is really hard whenever like your friends that you grew up with for your whole life are giving you crap for your path. And like, you thought that these guys were like your homies for life, and now they're just totally ripping on everything you're doing. It was tough, but as I said, it wasn't every day, but when it would happen, it was just make me want to stick it to them even more, because I knew, I studied snowboarding and skateboarding growing up because it's just like all I cared about, the one thing I loved most. I knew that there was a future for me, and there's been plenty of people that have done what I've been wanting to do in snowboarding. So I was like, I know more than these guys do. I know exactly where I'm going. I know where my potential is. I know what's possible, and I'm going to get there. And it just made me work harder.
I love that. It's like I know exactly the feeling. Like when negativity comes your way, you use that energy and use that negativity as your fuel and fire to be like, not just prove those people wrong, but to prove yourself right. To kind of prove to yourself like I'm capable, and like I know my potential. I know that I'm way better than this.
Exactly.
Their opinion, like why should I let this person's opinion dictate my future, my life. Because yes, they're probably your friend or your family, but they're not the ones who are going to live your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was another huge thing for me, is there were always moments where it'd be tempting to like, go do what they were doing or something.
Yeah.
And I would never cave in, but there were always moments, and I'd think about it, and I'd always come to the conclusion to be like, man, if I stopped skating or stopped snowboarding, or, did it less and decided to do what these guys were doing, I was really self-aware growing. Ever bailed on this, I will 100% just kind of hate myself. Not hate myself, but I would regret that. And I was very kind of observant of my feelings, and I always knew what got me excited in life, and I always knew what was just kind of like whatever. So I just knew if I bailed on my dream, that and if I bailed on my passions just to kind of like get acceptance from my peers, of course it might be nice for 20 minutes, but then next thing I know, I'll be like, I could be doing stuff that I actually can't. Yeah, not at all. One of my mentors growing up, he always told me, you got to sacrifice short-term gratification for a higher goal. You got to be willing to give up those things that normal teenagers love and normal teenagers thrive on, like going to parties or getting girls. You got to be able to give that stuff up and put in work for 10 to 20 years so that you can live a life of fulfillment and bliss for 50, 60 years. And I know I'd much rather do that than go to college and be in a frat and just, party for 4 years and then get out of school and have a bunch of catch up to do while I watch other people my age that chose to stick with their passions thrive, Yeah,
I love that. So since you mentioned mentors, talk to me a little bit about like your coaches and your mentors. Like how did they play a role, and like how did they influence your mindset, the one that you have today?
Yeah, the mentors that I've had in my life they're everything. They were so crucial. And my dad was like my first big mentor, and he still is. Like I have mentors for different areas of life, but my dad got me into snowboarding, and my dad really teaches me, like, he sets a good example of just being a very very nice guy. He's the nicest person you'll ever meet. And I watch him and how he lives his life, very laid back and very he's not the type of person that needs to like go out and show people how amazing he is. He's very okay with just doing his thing, and that's really cool and very necessary. And like I personally need to like look at that sometimes, because sometimes I'm like constantly feeling like I gotta go prove myself to people. So it's nice having him in my life for that reason, and so my dad's a huge mentor. My mom, obviously, she was a gymnast growing up, and she kind of gave up on the dream that she had. I don't want to speak for her, but I think she always, and still to this day, is always reminding me like, hey, if you're going to do this, do it 150%. Don't go to these contests. Don't put your life on the line just to go and like, quote, have a good time. Even though I'm always having a good time when I snowboard, that's the only reason I snowboard, is because I have fun doing it. She wants, she always just reminds me, anything you do in your life, you got to go 100% into it, and don't dive into it unless you're willing to really go for it. I think she just didn't want me to make the mistake she did. And so I love her to death for that, because she really keeps me she kept me on my toes growing up, and kept me disciplined. But one of the biggest mentors I've had in my life, his name is Jason Cannon, and he was a pro snowboarder in the 90s, and he went through a lot of crap in his life, went through a lot of trauma, some really bad injuries, some just really tragic events that or not tragic, but really unfortunate events that it pretty much led him to becoming a holistic health practitioner. And he went to this institute called the Czech Institute. I don't know if you've heard of Paul Czech, but Paul Chek is like, he's one of the most legendary pioneers of corrective exercise and holistic wellness. And he's trained some of the best athletes of all time. You know, the Chicago Bulls during the height of the Bulls days, Danny Way, one of the best skaters of all time, Laird Hamilton, the list goes on and on and on. But Jason went to the Chek Institute and learned from Paul Chek and other Chek trainers, because Paul certifies trainers under his teachings and stuff. And so Jason is my trainer still to this day. But, you know, Jason went through a lot of things that I went through and more. You know, he's lived a long life and he's gone through a lot of stuff. But all the stuff that he's taught me with taking care of your body and your mind 150% saved my life and my career. Because I remember whenever I started to really embark on my journey of like trying to be a top level competitive snowboarder, I would like just kind of like pray and wish that it would happen to me. I had absolutely no idea how it was going to happen. He came along at the perfect time and he's like, all right, Lucas, if you want to do any of this stuff, we need to fix so many things in your body so that your mind can be stronger, and then your mind can get your body stronger. And it's just like a never ending cycle. So, you know, the whole Chek approach is you go to a Chek trainer and you address body imbalances with flexibility, strength imbalances, alignment imbalances. You assess their diet. So Jason really learned everything about my body from start to finish, everything about my diet. And he has the most insane knowledge of the body and the mind and diet. Like I still am blown away by it every day, but he pretty much found exactly what's wrong with my body, what I got to fix in my body. And then we built strength on those, you know, on top of that stuff after we fixed my imbalances. It's all about fixing the imbalances, building strength, and then building speed and power. And that did amazing things just for my confidence in myself and in my snowboarding. Because I was like, I've been putting in so much work in the gym and I've been finding exactly what's wrong with my body and fixing it and getting it stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm learning about diet and how my diet affects my body. And I'm learning really about how my body plays a role in my confidence and my mindset. So my confidence just went through the roof that winter. Even though I wasn't really snowboarding in the half pipe, I was just snowboarding around Telluride. I was becoming so much better every single day. And then, you know, there's so many things that Jason has done for me. Like the list, it would take a whole nother podcast to really explain everything. But another thing he's taught me a lot about is he has a big martial arts background.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, martial arts played a huge role in his professional snowboarding career. And so I do a lot of Wing Chun, Kung Fu, and Tai Chi and Qigong. And, you know, that stuff's more of just a hobby for me. And it's it helps my snowboarding indirectly, though. It's changed my snowboarding for
I think
sure.
it's because of like the calmness and the mindfulness in that type of sport, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, Kung Fu, I'm pretty sure it means refinement of skill. And it's all about refining your skills that you have and slowing everything down and really paying attention to the little things. That's one huge thing Jason has taught me all about, is the little things are the big things. But yeah, you know, the Kung Fu stuff and martial arts, that's just something that I really enjoy. It's it just really is something that helps me keep my body strong, but also just it's really fun and it feels good. And it helps other things in my life. But yeah, Jason's been a huge mentor. He still is. You know, he was just with me at the X Games last week in Aspen. And, you know, X Games was always something I wanted to do growing up. That's like right on par with making the Olympic team. So as far as like my goals went, you know, like I put X Games right there with making the Olympics. So being there with Jason was really cool. And he mentors me through so many things. You know, he's helped me through so many difficult things in my life. And he's a man. And he's an amazing snowboard coach too. Even though he's my trainer, mainly, he taught me a lot when it comes to riding on snow and taking me to some cool places. And and then now, man, this is a long section about the mentors, but they're huge.
They are. They do play a big role.
And now that I'm on the US team, JJ Thomas is my coach. And yeah, he was a pro snowboarder for years, and he got third at the Olympics, won the X Games, and obviously since he's my coach and since we travel around the world together, he's obviously going to become a mentor figure in my life, and he definitely has. He's taught me a lot about just being a pro snowboarder, because he did the same exact things that I'm trying to do. So he has a great perspective, and
just making sure that
he's taught me so many.
Yeah, I was just saying that he's obviously going to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes he did, right?
Exactly. Yeah. He always talks about that. He's like, you guys try this because I wish I did this when I was your guys' age, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, he's super cool, and he's a great coach on snow, and he has a great perspective just on life and snowboarding. And he, he's only been coaching me for like a year and a half. So obviously after a couple more years, I'm sure that, he'll be even more of a mentor to me. But he's taught me so much, and I look up to him for sure. And then there's the other coaches on the team, Ricky Bauer and Rick Shimpano. They're mainly for the big dogs, for the pros and stuff. And, but they're same thing with them. They're great coaches, and I'd say every person that really has helped me in my life is a mentor in some way, shape, or form. The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah. My
friends are mentors in a sense. Jesse's been a huge mentor. Obviously, like the stuff Jesse's introduced me to, it's life-changing stuff. I wouldn't know who David Goggins was. Right? Yeah. He told me about David Goggins, and Goggins is amazing, and I love David Goggins. But yeah, Jesse, like the whole Ranger mentality and just relating the Ranger mentality to just being an athlete has done tremendous things for my life. I'd say all the stuff that I'm learning, I say it's more for life rather than my snowboarding. My snowboarding just benefits from it, obviously.
Yeah, of course. I love how something I just took away from what you were sharing is like when you were saying about the body and the mind affects how we kind of take actions or do certain things in our life. Because I also personally believe, like, although I'm a speaker and although I share a lot about mindset, personal growth, and I help people about taking action in their life, I honestly speaking, within the last year, if I didn't learn about mobility and animal flow and like all of these calming type of flowy type of things that I used to look at in the past, such as like stuff like yoga, I used to look at that in the past and be like, yoga? Like, surely that men don't do yoga.
Yeah.
I was that type of guy. Like I just used to find that stuff weird. Now I have conversations with with Jesse about it, and he's like, yeah, yoga. He makes jokes. He's like, I like watching your videos, Sadiq, in your yoga pants. And I'm just like, that stuff honestly has made me a better person, has made my actual body way more like functioning and more relaxed, because some of the workouts that I do are just so hard and crazy and really fast paced that I need to relax my body as well, and that mobility comes into place. That's where I combine mindset and mobility / fitness together. Because I think body and physical strength is so important to find like a really nice, stable balance in our life.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the body is the mind. They're the same thing. That's one thing that I've really kind of, that's a conclusion I've really came to through experiences. And, your body is so important to take care of, because your body, like it's going to take another podcast to explain the science behind all of this, but what you eat affects how your body is built and everything, and how your body functions and how your body is fueled is going to affect how well your brain works and how well you feel. And how well you feel is how pretty much you're going to attract other things in your life. If you're feeling like crap always, and you're just waking up like just wishing that you didn't wake up, you're obviously going to have a pretty crappy day, and crappy things are likely to happen to you. And that's one huge thing Jason has taught me all about, is like, no matter what you're doing in your life, if you don't take care of your body properly, if you don't fuel your body properly, your mind is going to suffer. And then your relationships definitely are going to suffer. Your careers are definitely going to suffer. And just your happiness and your connection to who you really are is going to suffer. So yeah, you got to really approach it from all angles. And that's why everything Paul Chek talks about it's all holistic, and everything Jason does, it's all holistic. It's approaching it from all different angles. It's like, how do we achieve this goal? And how do we approach this goal from 10 different angles? You got to approach it from diet, lifestyle, sleep, hydration. I said sleep already, strength, flexibility, so many more things.
Even just rest. You forgot rest.
Rest, exactly. Yeah, rest is
the
huge.
most important thing, because people think they can just hustle, as Gary always says, but Gary also talks about resting. Like he doesn't just say hustle 24 hours. He says hustle in the time that you're doing useless activities and the things that you're complaining that you don't have in your life. Those times that you're wasting, hustle in that time. But the rest of the time, you still sleep. You still wake up. You still go to work. You still do what it is that you love. But just make sure that
exactly. Jason texted me that the other day, right after X Games was over. X Games was a great experience, but it also didn't go as well as I wanted. So I was super fired up to get on to the next thing. But he texted me. He said, "You got to load to explode." So if you're never able to load, whether it's your body or your mind, you get the idea. It's like, if you're not resting well enough, if you're not sleeping, if you're not hydrating, if your body is just totally shot, then you're not going to be able to explode and, make a wave. You're not going to be able to, you get the point.
I love that. It's so powerful. Two things that just came to my mind. So just talking on that load to explode, how do you fire yourself up before a competition? And what do you do after the competition to unload, to kind of relax?
It's been changing a little bit the last few events. I've been kind of experimenting with it, but it all kind of boils down to the same thing. It's all about feeling good, just having my mind in a great space. And in order for my mind to be in a great space, I always wake up and do a little meditation. And my meditations are very simple. It's just sitting, complete silence, complete stillness. And then I listen to some good music that gets me fired up. Music is a huge part of my life. So I listen to songs that kind of I hold close to my heart, in a sense. Songs that, I've grown up listening to, songs that I've kind of like envisioned myself listening to, doing the things that I do. And then I always need to eat a good breakfast. That's huge. I kind of have like that routine. Like the night before is very important. I got to eat a very legit dinner, like organic veggies and grass-fed meats, organic meats. If it's chicken, like free range, I got to eat like a very proper meal. That's huge. And I pretty much just make sure I'm feeling good, because if I feel good, I'm going to attract more good.
100%.
And, sometimes there's so many things that go into having a good contest. Like I just competed yesterday and it didn't go good for me. I fell both my runs. And if you fall both runs in snowboarding, you have no chance at getting a good score. It's like you can't really compare yourself to the other riders unless you land your run completely. So, there are certain things that, like yesterday, I had to unwind by kind of analyzing the day and like, okay, what went right during the day? What do I need to keep doing? What did I do wrong during the day? What do I need to work on? So, I'd say you just start the day trying to feel as good as possible. You end the day. If it goes well, you go out and have some dinner, have some good food, visit with some friends, but you kind of just analyze the day, break it down. And, you don't want to overanalyze, but especially if something goes wrong or doesn't go how you wanted to, you really do want to assess rather than guess. You don't want to just be like, oh, could have been this. You really got to be like, all right, it was this, I could have done this a little better. And then, but pretty much for me, like once the contest is over and after I do that, it's just what's next? What's the next thing? I don't really dwell on it too much. Like this contest today, I'll forget about it.
But you do celebrate, right? You do celebrate whatever the outcome is. You still have to make sure that you celebrate. If it's a win or a loss, you still celebrate your efforts.
Totally. Yeah. You gotta think about what went right. Just like you assess what went wrong, or I'm not going to say wrong because there's never really anything wrong, but what could have you given more attention to? What could have you done differently? But yeah, you got to really celebrate any growth in the day, whether it's big or small. You do need to honor that. And that's something that I've been pretty good at the last 2 events they haven't gone super well for me, and that's okay. But yesterday, for example, like after the X Games was over, I was super happy about the X Games just because making it to the X Games was a huge milestone for me. And that was like,
well done, man.
As I said, it was like just as special as, whenever I make the Olympic team someday, it's going to feel just as good. I know it. So I was very grateful that I even made it to that point, even though I didn't do as well as I wanted to do. And I didn't actually perform the tricks that I was hoping that I could perform well. I was still proud of myself for getting there. And then I knew what I wanted to do differently at the next event. And I did those things differently at this event. And it's made things better, but not completely where they wanted to be. So now I know a little more of what I want to do next.
Yeah. There's always room for improvement. Like we can never be perfect. We can never get exactly what we want or just have that perfect goal. There's always going to be some mistakes. There has to be. That's where growth is, right? In the failures and the mistakes. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm reading this book right now called Relentless by Tim Grover, and it's all about Kobe. And JJ, our coach, sent it to all of us the other day. He's like, "You guys should read this book. It's super good." Started reading it because it was on my my book app on my phone, and he's talking about cleaners, and cleaners is another word for Tim Grover. It's his word for the unstoppable athlete. And that's all he talks about is cleaners, they'll achieve something Jordan or Kobe, they'll get their NBA ring, they'll win the championship so that they can get ready to win another, so that they can win another and another and another. They're stoked, of course, that they won the finals for the NBA, but the next thing they're thinking about is, all right, how do we do it again so that I could do it again and again and again?
Yeah.
So there's always room for improvement. And that's kind of where my mindset is. It's just like with X Games is a great example. I made it to the X Games. Just that in itself is a good accomplishment, but I want to know, okay, what do I got to do now to get back to the X Games and do better at the X Games? That's the first thing that pops into my head. Just after this contest right here, it's okay, I made some improvements in some spots, but I'm still lacking in some spots. First thing I think, what do I got to do now so that the next event goes better?
Yeah.
It's
that constant pushing ourselves to just what do I got to do every single day to just get better, even by 1%. That's what
exactly.
Every day, take one step, but just make sure you become a better version of yourself every day, even if it's by 1%. It's in a year, it'll be 365% better than you were when you started.
Exactly. Yeah. Every single day counts. Every moment counts. And every move you make in your life is contributing to who you're becoming in the long term. Some people are like, oh, today's a day off, so it won't affect me how I train the next day. But little do you know, it may not totally ruin your career, but you're also, every day you skip is a day that an extra day added on to the process of becoming what you want to become,
I love that.
So every day really counts. And that's something that I got to remember too. After a contest is over, if it goes bad, sometimes I'll be in a pretty pissy mood and I'll just want to chill and not think about snowboarding for a day or two. And I've been getting better and better at that lately though, which is good. But you got to remember,
we're all just human after all. We're gonna be pissed sometimes. We're gonna feel like just giving up sometimes. I made a post on that just today as well, just talking about never losing hope, because sometimes life is not perfect. We are not always gonna have a good day, and sometimes things are gonna go wrong, and we're gonna make mistakes, and we're gonna fail. But as long as we never lose that doubt, as long as we never doubt ourselves and we never lose that hope, then every single day, like you said, is just gonna get better if we just keep focused on our goals.
Yeah, Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, what was I going to say? Yeah. Like we're all human, and feeling those emotions is super, super important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they try to resist their emotions, or they try to like hold them back to like either make it look like they're not affected by anything. But like you really got to feel those emotions, because those are the things that are going to spark. Like for me, I really had to feel the like anger whenever people would like give me crap for like the online school stuff that we were talking about earlier. I really had to feel it because it fired me up a lot. And then you got to look back too. Like once you do achieve what you want to achieve, you look back at those moments and you're like, I was about to give up, and I was crying in my bed, pissed off, angry at so-and-so, pointing fingers at so-and-so. And I freaking got up and I made it. It just makes the reward even better whenever there's adversity. Adversity is amazing. Like great things happen if you have odds against you. That's something that I really strongly believe in. Of course, it's way better. I'm not going to say way better, but of course it's easier whenever you don't have like obstacles in the way, and whenever everything's just being handed to you on a platter. But like the best athletes in the world, the best businessmen in the world, they all come from adversity. They all come from obstacles. And that's one thing that I really strongly believe in, is that like, if you're an underdog, good, perfect.
Yeah.
If you got odds against you and you have a million hurdles to jump, that's awesome. Like for me, that was me 100%. My parents divorced when I was 11. And before I go on this story, like I lived a great childhood. I'm thankful for every moment of it, but there are definitely moments. But parents divorced, both of them were pretty broke. The divorce sucked. It affected my dad a lot. It affected me a lot. It affected my whole family a lot. And then the only thing I really truly had was my snowboard, a season pass, and a couple friends that I would snowboard with. I didn't have a half pipe. And here I am now on the US halfpipe team doing pro halfpipe contests. Like I had no idea how the hell I was going to do what I'm doing now. Zero idea. It scared the hell out of me all the time. I had no idea. Like I knew I wanted to do this, and I knew that was the only option for me, but I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. The closest half pipe to me is 4.5 hours away. I can't afford to go there every weekend. I can afford to go there maybe twice a year. And, my parents supported my snowboarding 100%, but they were only able to do so much.
Exactly.
So my whole background comes from jumping obstacles, jumping hurdles, and pretty much adapting to the circumstances that I had and figuring out how to get the most out of it. So yeah, I mean, being an underdog changed my life, did amazing things for my life. And, adversity and anger and feeling sad emotions can do amazing things for you if you channel it properly.
Love that, man. That is an amazing way to end kind of like the conversation, because like I told Jesse, like I can speak to you and Jesse for like ages and ages and ages, just because like these podcast episodes allow me to just get deeper with the guests, to know a lot more about their life, to kind of bring out different emotions in them during the episode, to kind of take them back and then take them in the future, and then just kind of messing with the mind, I guess, because I love psychology and I love like just understanding people, what they've been through, how their upbringing was, and where they kind of see themselves be in a couple of years from now. So I love the thing, man. Like I'm super proud of you. I love what you're doing. Like I'm so happy that you are also someone that's so young and ambitious, and you're just going after your goals. You're just getting it without caring and worrying about what other people think about you. That's just a super inspiring mindset to have.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I mean, even though we've talked a lot about adversity and like jumping obstacles to become a pro athlete, another thing I want to touch on too is just with snowboarding as a sport. It's like, I know I made it sound like this big, like Olympic dream, but there's so much more beyond competing in snowboarding that really keeps me in the game and stuff. Like I started snowboarding simply for the love of it. I didn't even know that it was an Olympic sport till like 3 years after I started snowboarding. So what keeps me snowboarding is more the love and the passion for it, not going to the Olympics or going to the X Games. That's just kind of stuff that keeps me progressing as a snowboarder, and it's fun, getting to travel and getting to travel and getting rewarded for doing well feels really good. So like right now I love it, but there's so much more to snowboarding. You know, there's tons of pro snowboarders out there filming amazing video parts that are snowboarding crazy mountains in Alaska and snowboarding around the cities in Finland. And, you know, I do want to make sure that the listeners know that even though there's a lot of snowboarders out there that are trying to achieve Olympic glory, there's so much more to it. There's so much more beyond it. And it's more of an art form than a sport. And, you know, snowboarding is not ski racing. Snowboarding is not football or soccer. It's an individual sport where you really get to express who you are. And that's what I love most about it. There's no rules. You get to really plug your own style into it. And, yeah, I just want to make sure that's known, because I think a lot of people these days, you know, the Olympians and the athletes that are competing and stuff, they're the ones that get to really represent snowboarding the most to the mainstream world.
Yep.
And, you know, the last thing that snowboarding needs right now is for it to look like some whack, like team sport that's all about winning and making money. Cause it isn't. It's about, it's about expressing yourself and being innovative and stylish.
I love it. And do you know how I relate to you? It's because I always tell my listeners, and I always tell the people that follow me, that nobody ever sees behind the scenes, right? They never see our hustle. They never see the mindset stuff that we're working on. They never see the holistic stuff that you're working on. They never see your diet and how you have to keep on such a strict routine to make sure that tomorrow when you go out onto that field and you're just gonna express yourself like hell. They never get to see the behind the scenes of all your trainings and all the stuff that you do at the gym, and they never see anything behind the scene. And I always relate to them in terms of like my podcast or my speaking gigs. You know, people never ever see the behind the scenes of when we failed. Imagine how many people don't even know how many times you fell off the snowboard, right?
Yeah.
That don't get filmed, right? No, that don't get posted everywhere on social media. Like, oh yeah, you know, look how many times I failed, guys. And I think that's what social media, a lot of people have the misconception of social media is like everybody's just living a really nice, cool, fancy life, but they don't. No one's posting the failures. No one's posting about when they failed and when they made the mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, for me, the reason I do all this stuff, the reason I take care of my body and care about all that is, of course, I want to do well in snowboarding and I want to do well in contests, but it's mainly I want to be the best version of me and I want to be the best snowboarder I can be, mainly just for the love of it. Because the end goal for me and being a pro snowboarder is I want to make snowboarding a doper sport for the kids that are going to start snowboarding after me. I want to make it more fun. I want to make it more accessible. I want to make it more welcoming. And I mainly just want to make sure that I'm on my best game so that I can represent snowboarding in a very positive way so that we get more people into snowboarding, because it's fun as hell. And
love it, man. I'm gonna do it.
It's never thanks, man. Yeah, it's never only about getting a gold medal. That's just a byproduct of you doing your thing, and that's a byproduct of you just putting in work. But the end goal is all about what are you gonna leave whenever you're gone. You know, you're one person in this lifetime, and there's gonna be many more generations after you, and no one's really gonna remember you for the rest of your life. They're only gonna really remember what you gave to the world. So all that really matters is just being a good person and getting people stoked on snowboarding and getting, you know, it goes beyond snowboarding. You know, I want to be able to inspire kids that are living in a different country, doing some random sport or activity or business idea. I want to be able to help them do that.
Love it, man. I feel you, dude. I feel you. And I'm going to, anytime you're in London, or if I ever come to somewhere that you are, we're definitely hooking up, man. I want to definitely take you for coffee and stuff and just have a much more deeper chat, because I would have loved to have a much more longer conversation with you.
Thanks, man.
But like, I love what you're doing. I can already feel your passion and energy. Like everyone says they feel mine when I tell them like I want to speak on a stage that has like 90,000 people one day. And I know it sounds stupid and crazy, but I'm like, I don't give a crap how it sounds. As long as I know that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be the best version of myself and to genuinely inspire people without caring about money, without caring about anything else but that person's feeling and emotions, and helping them change something in their life, that's
Yeah.
fulfillment. That's what makes me super happy every single day.
Totally.
So I love what you're doing,
Yeah,
man. Before we end the episode, I want to shoot 4 questions at you that you are basically going to answer off the top of your head. Is that cool?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So the first one I got for you is, what comes to your mind when you hear the word failing?
Learning. Yeah.
Nice. Well, okay, I'm going to actually add on to this now. I actually want to know why. Why did you say learning?
Because it really gives you a total like formula for like doing better the next time. Like if you fail, it's just like if you fail a math test, they'll tell you exactly what questions you got wrong. You'll look at those questions, be like, oh, I suck at multiplication. I'll go work on that. You get better at that. And then boom, you pass the next test. It's the same thing with snowboarding, and the same thing for life or just building yourself up in a career. It's like, if you fail, it means whatever you were doing was not working. And now you have more knowledge than you had before. Exactly. You get to really learn what works and what doesn't work. That's really what's important. Like the truth of life is what works.
Yep.
And learning is you got to fail. Like it sounds cliche, but like you will literally never ever learn if you don't fail, and you'll never do anything in life unless you learn. So
absolutely, man. Love it. I love it. The second question I have for you is something I ask most of the guests, which is, which one video or a movie or a documentary have you seen in your life that you can still remember has positively impacted your mindset of how you do things today? So it could be like a video that you've seen on YouTube, it could be a documentary, or it could be a movie that you love that's really impacted you.
That one's really tough.
Yeah.
There's so many. I'd say in just like life overall, any David Goggins video or podcast has changed my whole mindset.
Love it.
And then like there've been a lot of things like in snowboarding, there's tons of videos that really like changed my whole perspective on snowboarding, tons of athletes and stuff. And like, that's another topic for another time, but
I love it. Okay, cool. So basically, what I can feel and sense that you love David Goggins, right? Like he's played a massive role in your mindset, I guess, right?
And I've only known about David Goggins for like 6 months now, but I listen to his stuff so much now, and it's helped me a ton this winter. So
awesome, man. Good stuff. Love it.
And it's all about, like I know I just related like the two different topics, like David Goggins with snowboard videos and stuff. That's a huge thing for me too, is like combining the two, like taking little pieces from like Gary Vee and how can I put that into my snowboarding career, or how could I bring my like punk rebel snowboard skateboarder mentality and plug it into what David Goggins has to say. That's something that I try to do a lot of. And
that's all about creativity. That's just you expressing your unique creative self. And I love that. Like I do the same in fitness. I do crazy creative fitness like videos and stuff, just because I either seen a video of someone that I follow that's doing it. Sometimes I'm just in the gym and I just pick up whatever I see. My mind is just super creative. So I just pick up whatever and I think, okay, let me know. I'll do a push up on this thing and then an L sit and then maybe some push. Like I just make things up, and I think creativity is really, really important. And again, that's another whole topic by itself.
Oh yeah.
So thanks for sharing that, bro. So the next one is, now, which one book do you highly recommend all the listeners that they have to go and read this book because it's changed your life?
Code of the Extraordinary Mind. The author's name is Vishen Lakhiani, I think. I don't know how to say his name.
The owner of Mind Valley, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That book is amazing. That definitely that helped my mind kind of like see past BS in normal society. It wasn't necessarily for like, it was of course mindset, but it was also like, he talks about just BS rules that society places on people that kind of hold people back from doing things they want to do. And that kind of just made me like look at everything in my life from a different point of view. It made me kind of like see past all the just stupid stuff that like school will try to put in your brain, or stupid things that your parents I love my parents, always love your parents and respect them. But they might say something here and there that is a BS rule that isn't necessarily true that you got to really see past. So
Yeah.
that book definitely is amazing.
I love what, just on that point where you just shared, I love what, I don't know if you follow David Meltzer as well.
I don't know.
So Dave, 100% you got to go. If you're following Gary Vee, you have to follow David Meltzer. They're like very similar, but very different. Gary Vee's the more rah, crazy hustle guy, and David Meltzer's more, still hustle, but he's more of the peaceful type of calming personality, but both as amazing as each other. But David Meltzer always says, just because your parents love you, or just because someone loves you, it doesn't mean they're going to give you good advice.
Yeah, totally. You got to take what's valuable from each person and leave the rest behind. That's what Bruce Lee would say. You know, like you can have 10 masters. They don't all have to be the perfect master, but if they have some value that they can give you, each master, take the value from each, leave the, unnecessary crap behind. You don't need to it doesn't need to be all black and white where you you commit to one teacher or one mentor or one way of training and do everything. You could do the stuff that's beneficial to you and then leave the stuff that you don't care about behind.
Yeah, exactly. Just take the things that resonate with you and leave everything else behind. Totally, man.
Exactly.
Love it. So the last question for you, Lucas, before we end the episode is a deep one that everybody gets a bit introspection, they get very confused about at the beginning, and then they start thinking oh, wow, this is a good question. So if you can spend a few hours to learn from someone's wisdom, whether this person is dead or alive, who would that one person be to you and why? It could be anyone that you would just love to have a conversation with, or just meet, or just hang around to ask questions and learn from them.
Honestly, there's two, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Reading this Relentless book by Tim Grover makes me really, before Kobe died, I actually was listening to a lot of Kobe interviews and stuff. It was weird because I remember listening to some Kobe stuff the night before a contest that I podiumed at this year. So I definitely, especially now that he's gone and we won't hear any more Kobe stuff that's new in this day. That would be really cool to get a few hours to learn from him. Luckily, there's a lot of things out there that I can learn from right now that aren't gone about Kobe. But and then the other one that's kind of been one that will always stick with me, that always has been there, would be Bruce Lee. Just the whole martial arts kind of approach that I've learned about. And Bruce Lee's kind of part of the lineage that I'm in with Jason. You look back at all the people he learned from and the people they learned from, it all boils back down to a lot of them trained with Bruce Lee, learned from Bruce Lee. And I see all these crazy martial art masters and how just strong they are physically, but mentally too. And, there's so many Bruce Lee quotes out there. There's so many Bruce Lee approaches, I guess you could say, that just have changed my life. And I think he's just he was the perfect person that blended body and mind together. And he had the most amazing just approach with learning. He learned how to become the best martial artist of all time. And it's not he was born with that skill. And so to just learn how he did it, any person in the world can learn from Bruce Lee and learn the things that he used to get to where he's at, and they can plug them into their lives, whether they're, majoring in college for whatever, going to law school or playing basketball. You can listen to Bruce Lee and it can change your life. It can add to your game 100%. So Bruce Lee's sick. I love Bruce Lee. He's
certainly one of the most wisest people of all time. Nobody would ever forget him. And you're right, perfect embodiment of body and mind, just someone that everybody can learn from. So I love that. Lucas, I'm super grateful that we had this conversation, man. I wish it can go for longer, but unfortunately it can't. And I definitely want to catch up with you properly anyway, another time when you have some time. But if anyone listening wants to reach out to you, ask you for some guidance, some support, some mentorship, some help, any questions, what's the best way they can reach out to you? What platforms do you kind of live on the most?
Instagram's the main one. Yeah, I mean, Instagram, you can DM me and I always check my requests and check my DMs and respond to everybody. So
How'd you spell your
definitely,
name? Just spell it for the people who'll be listening.
It's Lucas Foster, LucasFoster with an underscore. So yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. And I'm on Facebook too, but Instagram is definitely what I use most. And
guys, if you're still listening, you have to go and follow him on Instagram, because some of the videos this dude posts is like incredible. Like, dude, don't think I didn't go and watch your videos, right? Like, I'm not just some guy that just brings random people onto the podcast. I did go and see your videos. I did look into what you're doing, and I was like, damn, like, your videos really inspired me. And I was like, how did the person with the camera even film this? Like, I was just thinking the video quality and the camera guy must have been like following you like super. I don't know how they do it, but the videos are freaking incredible. I love it. I love the flips that you're doing, the craziness, the creativity that you have in what you do. And I love that you're just loving it. Like, you're just loving living your life, doing something that you love.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Great work, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So
appreciate it.
Make sure, guys, you go check him out on Instagram. Go reach out to him. He's always, as he said, he's going to be free to take your requests and stuff. But Lucas, I'm super grateful that you are with me on the Purposeful Mindset podcast, and I am looking forward to catch up with you very, very soon again, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
Love talking to you.
You too, man. We'll catch up soon, man.
All right.
All right.
Good. See ya.
See ya. Bye. If you're still there, I just want to say a massive thank you for your attention and your time. It really means a lot to me. Please do me one favor and subscribe to this podcast, share it with your friends, and leave a rating on whichever platform you're listening to this. It would honestly mean the world to me. Thank you so much once again. I hope that this episode brought value and inspiration into your life, and I'll see you guys next week.